seems to be two things at the moment that we're particularly short on. One of those is good news. And the second thing is a sense that something's being done. So people often write in and say to me, well, it's all very well us talking about this, but what are we doing? So I thought I would try and address a couple of those things by not talking about something else or a different topic, but sharing a bit instead about what I'm up to. And in the larger sense, a kind of macro sense, that involves stuff that's happening elsewhere. So like, for example, the Dutch farmers and their protests. I'm involved with helping those. And very soon, hopefully, I will be over with the Dutch farmers as they protest about the ridiculous constraints that are being placed on them as they try and do the very simple thing of feeding the good people that they care about. So I think there's a sort of linking up of freedom people all over the world, same in Oxford, where we're trying to wake people up to the idea that 15-minute cities and so-called bus filters aren't just going to be all about a much more pleasurable way of living where you can just hop and skip to the supermarket and come back on a lovely airy bus, that something much darker is happening. I'm also working with and trying to highlight things that have happened to people on our side. So, for example, Andrew Tate, just having his sentencing, or rather not his sentencing because he's never been sentenced, but being held for another 30 days, extended until April, 4 months, being held in Romania without ever being charged with anything, without anyone ever having something they could charge him with, held for 4 months without cause, because if there is cause, please show it. And then in the last week or so, I've been on the phone with Alex Belfield, trying to work out a way where he can make it through another 2 years and 3 months of being held in a Category C prison for a 5.5-year term for the crime of saying stuff on YouTube, and that being called dangerous stalking. And it seems almost beyond belief that those things are happening. But it's kind of part of why I know there's no such thing as the law. There's no such thing as justice in that sense, because once the system decides that it needs to be rid of you, it will remove you, just as they did with my friend Tommy when I walked him to prison, knowing he would go to prison despite no one else in the history of time ever being put in prison for contempt of court. And of course, as my friends and circle are put behind bars, it's always been a slight wonder of how I am not. And one can only assume that day will come for me, and it will only be a matter of time. But these are the ways that our network of many tries to sustain each other, by providing those links, providing support, or occasionally just giving voice to stuff that other people shy away from. People don't want to speak out in support of Andrew, but almost just calling out the fact that how can you detain someone for 4 months with no charge, because people are afraid it will contaminate them or taint them. And so no one talks of it. And of course, that's exactly what those who run the system want. They want no one to speak of it, which is why it's important for someone like me, who is as free as it's possible to be. There's nothing anyone can take from me now. I can keep speaking out and I can keep joining up these networks. And networks are really the theme of what I'm trying to share here, I suppose. Closer to home and headed towards me, and I'm really not wanting to talk about myself in all of this. I've just joined TNT Radio, which is being put together out of Australia. And in my mind, it's like pirate radio. It's like the boat that rocked. It's like Radio Caroline. And it's just a great guy who's decided that rather than do nothing, let's do something. And let's join people together with conversations that matter. So I have joined his merry band of pirates, and together I'm hoping to help connect the many networks that I know are alive and thumping with life, despite the fact that not many people can see them or hear them. And so I'm going to be, and am, devoting an hour on radio each day with that team to try and help build that network, to try and offer another way and support really the work of one guy who's put his money where his mouth is and is trying to actually get people who speak truly freely to speak their mind, which is a glorious thing. I also am out and about all over the country right now at speakeasies, so people won't be aware necessarily because we don't speak of them for obvious reasons. But we are now living in a time of prohibition, and the new alcohol is actually speech. And so being able to gather together at speakeasies where people used to gather together so they could speak freely and drink freely and have a lovely time, those are alive and well. And I've been travelling, speaking at the Speakeasy Network through America, California, Colorado, Arizona, Florida, Texas for 5 years while I was eviscerated from the UK. And now I'm super excited and super proud to be part of helping people to gather together, which is, as I see it, my main mission and my kind of what I do well, is giving people or demanding that people gather and demanding that people go into rooms, look around and realise they aren't alone. Life is nothing like they're being told it is. And that an old world, a nostalgia for how things were before is absolutely still there in your town. In your town. And when we gather 100 of us above an underwear shop, or 50 of us in a cafe, or 75 of us in a basement, you'll know who I'm talking about. That's the proof that the old world is still there. It just can't be talked about, but it's building, and I'm definitely part of that. And I don't talk about the detail of it too much because clearly to protect the speakeasies, we can't publicise the speakeasies beyond what I've just said here. The other thing that I think is important for maybe for me this week, or it's been very uplifting, is for the first time in 5 years being able to speak on BBC. It was BBC Radio, a small station, BBC Radio Solent, and I was being allowed on under strict supervision, no doubt. And a producer's hand was on the dump button, ready to hit it, as they surely did, I'm certain. But I was allowed to speak. And even though it was set up as a thing against me, so reasons why 3 of my venues are cancelled, which actually has come about because I have an actual stalker who is threatening and has threatened various people. And we're alert to that now, and it's been reported to the police. But because we live in a crazy time where organisations and establishments are so terrified of the mob and the woke mob and being on the wrong side, that it only takes actually one crazy individual for them to think that the mob might come. So the interview was set up with me on the back foot. My venues have been cancelled. Clearly I'm a bad person. I shouldn't be allowed to speak. How terrible and how humiliating that these sold out venues had to have their tickets refunded. I didn't cancel anything. I'm good to my word. I always do what I say I'm going to do. I've never missed something I said I would do, even if I was slightly on my last legs or dislocated both arms in the night. I will always be there. Anyway, but I was allowed to speak for the first time in 5 years. What was amazing and so brilliant, and the reason I want to share this is not about me. It's about the callers who called in and said, and the BBC guy, the presenter, whatever, child, didn't want to, because they're supposed to be about balance, right, and being impartial, and they have to pretend to be impartial, blah, blah, blah. So he would obviously like some calls to come in saying, well, no, we don't want this woman to be given a platform, blah, 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 blah. But they didn't. So he's just reading them as they came in, and as they came in, it was like, I'm not a big fan, or I don't like that woman, or I've never agreed with her, or I might not think I want to see her, but she should be allowed to have her space, and these venues should not have cancelled. And to hear that in my lifetime, knowing where it's come from 5 years ago, how I, couldn't breathe without being locked up, arrested, whatever, or the craziness of the monster that the media created, with my help, I guess, but still, the monster, the idea now that people who probably imagine they dislike me, but what they mean is they disagree with me, are saying she should be allowed a platform on BBC. And that was live on the air. I mean, subsequently, my next comment about the tyranny of lockdown, that got dumped. But that doesn't matter. It's still progress. And so what I'm trying to share here in this long-winded way is there is progress. I can feel, you can't necessarily feel or see or hear it, but I do. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I'm trying to tell of it. I'm trying to tell of the global network. I'm trying to tell you of your local network that you might not be able to see or hear, like rabbits in the hillside, right? Their burrows, peeking their little heads out to see if it's safe to come out. And then there's things like the BBC and people calling in to say, no, fair play, let her do her stand-up show. She's trying to make people feel better. Let her carry on. And then at a much more local level, to me, I do have these stand-up shows. We just gained 3 more venues. The Wirral, because of people trying to help me get venues and to help explain to venues that this is just about gathering people at as lower ticket price as we possibly can. Sittingbourne is like a tenner, I think. It might be a 12 quid. But we gained the Wirral, Sittingbourne, and we gained, London. Can you tell I don't come from London? Oh yeah, that little place. What's it called? What's that place called again? Stupid mare. London. So the Wirral, Sittingbourne, London, and then amazingly, I was supposed to be booked in Skegness, and someone got to them because of me going up to just talk about the amazing hotels who stood firm, again, didn't take the Home Office money and didn't have illegals put into the heart of Skegness. The embassy there got nervous, I think, and I was supposed to be speaking there, but instead Mablethorpe has come along just up the road. And amazingly, all of the hotels that I just went to highlight and support, the Hatters and the Savoy on the front, who declined the Home Office money, even though it would have made their lives so much easier. They're helping promote, and so we're selling out in Mablethorpe as well. And most of my dates that I have stand-up shows for have sold out. And I really don't care about that from my point of view. This is not the ego of, typical comedians who it's about them. This is about supporting venues, helping the venues keep going, as were Blackpool. They had their best weekend in their modern history when I was there last. This is about getting people together, and my whole heart loves that. When I get there, I can just say to people, look around. And it's the best thing ever. It makes my job so easy, because people look around and go, oh my goodness, like 1,000 people in Blackpool. Look how many there are of me. And the most important thing to me when we speak about, look how many there are of me or my side, is that this side is a side that simply wants the best for each other. And that's why we're being so kind of beaten down or brutalised or forced to hide. We're painted as these things in the media. So like we heard Sadiq Khan say that people who are against ULEZ are far right, which is an insanity that is beyond any of us. But what's so glorious is that the people in the room, let's just take Blackpool. My brilliant gay army is out there, beautiful, beautiful men who typically bring their mothers. And afterwards, when I get to meet everyone, and I stay until I've met everybody that came, I get to meet their mums as well, which is just brilliant. Then it's mums with their sons, so 18-year-old, 19-year-old daughters or sons that come with their mums. And that to me is just joy, because young people get given such a hard time for being morons or woke idiots or university young people. I know so different. So many young people are with us, not in everything. No one has to agree with everything or anything, actually. But there is a huge audience of 18, 19-year-olds upwards out there. Same reason that my old LBC show, we had a bigger youth audience than Heart and Capital, and they were really cross about it because I'm just this old lady banging on a Sunday for 2 hours about politics. But it's young people who are also with us, people of all races, all religions, huge black guys who come along and just come up and give me a massive cuddle, which secretly is just like massively exciting. And so it doesn't matter where you come from, what your religion is, what you believe, what your sex, nothing matters. The thing we're all unified by is the idea that we just want everyone to be okay. And it's an amazing thing. And when people leave, it's like It's like a family wedding, but better. Because at weddings you have to meet boring people that you can't stand. This is a group of people who are all the same as you. They just want you to be all right. And if you fell over, they'd pick you up. Or if you lost something, they'd make sure you got it given back to you safe. And that's what we're building. So I wanted you to know that that's what I'm doing. And I wanted you to know that that's what I'm doing because I want you to know that it's good news. That I have the privilege of seeing things many of you might not, and I'm not saying you don't see, but maybe you don't get to see or hear about, or you can't feel them going along. But I can promise you faithfully that there is this huge spider's web out there in a non-scary way. I hate spiders. Like a web spun from sparkly glitter silver threads. And they're the strongest threads. And every time one of the little spiders, but friendly spiders on a network, twangs the silky threads, the rest of us hear it. And I'm trying to put you onto the web with me so that you can feel that as you walk around this country of ours, a network of speakeasies is out there. And that network extends directly to my great friends from the road across America and across South Africa, the white farmers of South Africa who will die in their boots for the love of their land, and the great Australians who I work with now and who are always so supportive, even as my little tush was being kicked out of the country for speaking my mind. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope you find it helpful. Please know, as my final message, I suppose, on this, when you feel like it's too dark to carry on, please know for certain from someone who sees it firsthand that you are not alone, that we are many and we are stronger together. If you'd like to sign up at my website, just so you can stay in touch, we'll never spam you, we'll never send you anything, we'll never give anyone your email address. It's only lovely Mark that will have it. It's Katie's Arms, as in Katie's, I-E-S, and then Arms, A-R-M-S, katiesarms.com. And there's tickets there if you want to come to an event under the shop, or you can just sign up and keep connected. And then every little while I will put out a little message like this so that you can know quietly what's actually going along. Onwards we go, good people.